Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I didn't expect that. You are warmly welcome to our Power Lunch Martech edition, and both in here and also to in your offices on your decks of your sailing yachts or wherever you are watching this, because this is a live stream to the whole of the world. And last time we spoke about feelings and emotions. Today we are talking about Martech or marketing technology. But it doesn't mean that we don't have feelings here or emotions. We are not forgetting those. But in the vice versa, because technology has given us unbelievable skills of understand our customers' feelings and emotions and expectations like never before. But of course we have also something like tomorrow we will face the GDPR, and we have to be careful of all the information we have. And but I think that will brighten our marketing efforts for good, and our customers will love us after tomorrow. 25 years ago, we have an advertisement and in the newspaper, IDBBN, and it said that it's the end of the world as we know it. And can you guess what happened 25 years ago that disturbed marketing and sales totally? What thing? 25 or 26, 27 years ago? Internet! Yes! And that might did that, I think. And but now today we are facing as big disruption as internet because of the marketing technology. And we started by maybe 10 years ago. We talked about marketing automation of sending emails automatically and newsletters. But we have taken huge steps towards predictive analysis, all customer understanding, and we can really predict the future. We can predict the success by all this data we have today, and that is something that will totally change the marketing and sales processes. So we are living very interesting times at the moment. We can even, yesterday I heard that we can understand feelings and emotions. We can even understand the diseases that people will have by the spectrum of the voice. And that is something quite interesting because all the phones and things are listening you, so they can really understand what kind of person you are. That is a little bit scary also. But why don't we fine-tune to ourselves to this disruption, it's the end of the world as we know it, by singing it together. Is that okay? Yes. Do you know the song? It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the, you know the world as we know it. You know that? I can play it. Let's sing everybody. Do you all feel fine? Yes! Yes, after this day. But our first speaker, we have speakers all over the Scandinavia, people also all over the world actually, is professor, great speaker, Saara Taalas. And he, sorry, excuse my English. She speaks about how we can best understand or build the outstanding customer experiences. Please, warm applause to Saara.
Cheers, thank you. Good morning. So ever so exotic to be in Helsinki. Basically, it's always a fabulous feeling when somebody introduces you as a professor, because you can really feel the atmosphere drop. But because nobody expects professors to do more than basically, you just triple draw. Okay, right. But anyway, I'll do my best to disturb you because we are very, very rare people who are actually usually skeptics. So when the opening is like it's the end of the world, so we're not like, yeah. That's a typical kind of professorial approach to everything. So there's going to be, be enough of that. And you know shit. And then there's going to be, this is great. So there's usual kind of a professorial up and down sort of thing, right? So expect two things. I'm a huge big fan of certain aspects, and then really big skeptic, a lot of stuff, right? So we start with the fan bit, so that there would be this positive experience beginning, and then I get skeptical towards, after the first 3 minutes, okay, right? I'd like to take you back to a very Wittgensteinian, quite, got you there, of a question of how does one make up one's mind? So how does one actually make up one's mind? So I'm really sorry that I wasn't here yesterday when you talked about mind and people's ideas and brains and stuff. When you say mind or brain, you know nothing of how it actually works. Most of the stuff that you've been talked about yesterday was doing micro marketing stuff like old brains and new brains and stuff like that. And most of the neuroscience has shown that kind of division is pure shite. Sorry to my viewers in other parts of the world, but in Finland we can say this out loud. So basically there is no such thing as, older parts of your brain. When you think of your grandmother, your whole brain lights up like a Christmas tree. Yeah, I bet they didn't tell you that, did they? Right. So there goes the macro marketing checklist. So how do you make actually decisions? There's no shortcuts to knowledge or understanding. So basically just saying brain or technology or software doesn't really get you anywhere. Right. That's a good starting point, a skeptical starting point to become more enthusiastic. I'd like to do something which we in this day of data don't usually do. And I'm working, basically my professorship was donated by Atea. I've been working with a big brand. We are training people to work for them and such like things. So basically, I use Atea as an example of some of the aspects here. But I'd like to start from the everyday. I know this is really boring for those who might be working with some fancy brands, right? But let's look at the everyday. It's a struggle. It's a struggle to get here in the morning. It's an amazing thing we make it out of the door in the morning. I mean, there's so many tensions, so many expectations. If you are in the middle of your, from 30s to 50s, you pay everything, always, for everyone. So that means you are always needed. Somebody wants something from you, even those who are nearest and dearest, and then from there onwards. It's a struggle, it's an amazing thing that we can make it anyways. That's a pretty cool thing. Let's look at those tensions so that we can actually build some of our thinking on this. IKEA has done now 4 years in a row one of the biggest studies of everyday life in the world. I bet you haven't read it. It would be a really good thing to go and read it. It's in that thing called interweb. Right, so one of my doctoral students have been involved doing that. I haven't been part of that, so close enough, right? So basically, the interesting thing about how everyday involves, and this is the first time last year, it's a study that's completed in 22 countries, hundreds and hundreds of interviews, ethnographic data collected, and some 21,000 people are, participating in the surveys of this. So it's a really big corporate research effort. So basically, the interesting thing is they identify 5 tensions in our everyday life that we are struggling with, right? So basically, we love our stuff. We need our stuff. We need our meaningful stuff, meaning those things that we need. It might be your mobile phones. I think everybody has their mobile phone now, at least in Finland. In Northern Europe, definitely. South Korea, many other places as well. And I mean, we are not even close to as how important it is in India, right? And then we have this pressure of declutter. I mean, God. Most of the stuff that you're trying to sell is something we really don't have a place for. It doesn't matter how fabulous it might be. We just don't want it because we don't know where to put the stuff that we already have. And that's a huge tension in a sense. We would feel that there's a pressure to declutter our lives, KonMari, from here to high heaven, but really, honestly, we can't be bothered, or we don't really want it badly enough, right? Please don't start this death clearing thing. I mean, it's a morbid thing. Don't do that. It's not good for a human being. So there's a tension between the clutter and between the meaningful things. So we try and struggle that. How to prioritize the stuff. That brings us to another tension that we live with. I hate your stuff. That's my interpretation of it. Basically, it means I want my personal space. We all need our personal space. But we find it really, really difficult to ask for or to organize for. For example, we all have in our, whatever our lived space is, other people's stuff that really bugs us. Or we are kind of struggling to have our own space, one way or another, find a place to begin with, or to have our own space, even just a small space. Quite many people find it a digital space nowadays. That's their personal, private space. So we struggle with this. We need space for ourselves, but it's really difficult to ask for or organize. Third struggle or tension is that we really feel like, our first space, which is usually called home. Everybody's got some kind of a home or a sense of home or belonging. 57% say that when they're home, when they're in their private space, they are present, which is really great and lovely. That's what all mindfulness coaches and gurus would love us to feel. That means that 2 out of 5 people feel disconnected when they are in their private space. That means something is taking away this tension, right? So we kind of, where's that? Yeah, there's always something. There are messages coming in, there are people who want something from us, someone's sending messages, marketing tries and take too much of our time, space. So there's a tension between these two. Fourth tension is absolutely to do with dealing with technology. 27% people feel really happy to bring technology into their homes. I mean, just bring it on. It's great. I bet all of you are in those people. I mean, it's okay. It's okay. There's quite a few of you. But then there are the rest of us who struggle how to kind of cope with which technology, how much of it does everybody has to have everything all the time. Is that the latest, oldest, best, that kind of thing, and how to incorporate it in our lives, right? There's a constant struggle. You can't solve this. None of these tensions are solvable for once and for all. So basically, we fight them every time we try and get out of the house. And then this idea of we would like our first space to be somehow complete. We really have this desire and dream that it would be great if life was somehow finished. All this trying all the time would somehow come to her oh, I've achieved this. Do you recognize this feeling? Well, it's not going to happen. Life is an unfinished business, and then you talk with your dad, who's 76, and he says yeah, those were the best days of my life when everything was so all over the place all the time. And you just go you have no idea what you're talking about. But anyway, I think he has a point. So basically, just to try and get to the sense that life, and first spaces particularly, is a kind of ongoing business, and it's not going to be finished. And it's kind of, under construction in one way or another, and we ride it, and it doesn't mean that it's got to be somehow a failure. So those are 5 tensions. We need help with these, right? So basically, how to prioritize our stuff, our time. How to make room for our own sort of personal space, how to do that, and how to deal with other people's bubbles. Is anybody home? And it's how to be present in those things that are meaningful for me. How to connect and disconnect, and how to deal with these things. And how to deal with this idea of, life should be able to be somehow, our first spaces should be a kind of step ahead of us. So that, it would not be completely, oh my God, what's going to happen next? And not completely, I know exactly how things are going to be in a 5 years' time. But kind of in a way that we can predict reasonably a few steps ahead of what we're going to need next, right? We need help in this. I mean, all of us do. And for the first time, we're in a situation where marketing can actually solve some of these things for us, can provide a service that can help us with dealing these things, which I think is the most central aspect of what we're talking about. So I hope that end of the world, as we know it, means that the end of world of, trying to sell more shit is basically turning into how to solve people's very important aspects of dealing with tensions in our lives. And some of these Martech solutions can help marketing actually provide this kind of service. It's much more humble and much more important job to do. So that's brilliant. This is my fandom. I've been waiting personally for 10 years, not 7 years, but 10 years sounds better than 7 years, for this magical moment where geeks and nerds would meet, right? Yeah, obviously I come from the nerdy side, as all university people usually do. We tend to be nerdy, but we're kind of interested in the geeks, and I've been working with geeks in media since 2004. So basically trying to understand their geeky world from the nerdy side. And basically we're finally there. I mean, they are firmly divorced, have been, or kind of flirting with each other for a long time. But now we're here where the computers, analytics, big data are kind of coming together. This picture is really new. I mean, like it's 2013. So yeah, I picked it already then. So old slides, really we love this stuff. But basically now we have that. So we have the nerds, the engineers, the software people, process delivery designers, and then we have the content people finally come together. So basically in Martech, you can see this merging, and that is changing things. It's been a long coming process. I hope it's going to, and I'm pretty sure it's going to go fast from here. Now the question is, is one going to take over the other? Now that's the real struggle. But finally we're on the same page, right? Which is really good. That means that we can solve some real problems and offer some real service in what we try and do. Here's the fan and here's the skeptic, okay? So I'm a big fan of fans, active audiences, geeks in general, because I can see that developing how do people think and act and make decisions and what influences us and what inspires us. Then I'm a huge big fan of nerds as well, because I feel like I belong there somehow in the nerdy side, even though I'm not quite as antisocial as some of my even nerdier friends, whom I love. But basically the idea that you can bring these things together, I think it offers a wonderful platform for the future of solving some real problems, not just vanity problems. The other thing of fandom is that we are finally out of that luxury status driven thinking of marketing, for example, that, it's always about mass customization and then getting more money for the same thing, and then people would feel even more status-oriented. That kind of luxury-driven idea of marketing was really boring and really out of this world. Now when we think about solving problems, real-life problems for real people, we talk about big volume questions, and we talk about some real-life stuff. So now we're back to kind of solving and offering a service that would have some kind of value proposition for people to engage with. I see lots of examples of that. Then the skepticism is I see markets being flooded with software that we haven't seen the end of it, and this is not the end of it. That always pushes down price of stuff. There will be more and more. I think Salesforce is a good example. More and more big movers. Am I allowed to say things like that? I suppose. Anyway, basically, but it's true. Throwing free stuff into the market. That basically means you have so much choice, and you're exactly in that sort of situation. Where should we do? Where should we go? Which should we use? Where should we commit ourselves? Is it going to be something different in 6 months' time? 2 months' time? Am I in what kind of... They're all very different, and I think the market is currently sort of very problematic. So we're going to see people overinvest time and money. It's that time. So that's kind of skepticism from the business side. And then from a more kind of academic point of view, a more of kind of knowledge point of view, there's always a worry that you're going to lose the point. You're going to lose the real point of what one wants to do. Marketing as a service, so it's different from the mobility as a service. But basically, marketing as a service means that you're out there with the content and with the service and with the process and delivery to solve problems and challenges, offering the kind of service or information or content that would be useful. And of course, the usefulness is always produced by the consumers and users and clients. So usefulness can never be coded into marketing. Now, let's say that again. Usefulness of something can never be produced to your marketing or any content or any process. The usefulness is always produced by the users, clients, and consumers. That's like it's good to take this as a starting point, because this is what it is. And that's the marketing paradigm that's been since 2004. I mean, service dominant logic is based on this idea that we can't deliver value, we can deliver value proposition, which means basically we can construct something together, right? And that's a very important part of marketing. So basically, it's a small idea, but it changes strategic thinking in a completely different way. Basically, it starts radically from the market side, by thinking of how does people's lives evolve and what is happening there, not out of what can we do with our fancy toys, which is the usual, fun and games sort of thing. So basically, starting from the real life challenges and try and offer solutions or something to help us with this. Okay, what we can do with Martech is we can help priorities and sort. We can provide services, and we already now have many machine learning services, for example, on everyday life, which are helping to prioritize, for example, or sorting into packages, for example. Okay, right, an experience is, for example, travel. I need to get from southern Sweden to Helsinki. I mean, it's never a flight. I mean, that's only part of my experience or my journey. There are all sorts of other stuff on the way and all sorts of other concerns. So basically, how to sort, how to know when to leave, how to do this. And this is something that we know already in particularly travel industry, hospitality industry, and e-commerce. We have all this kind of services which are already nudging us to this way. So basically, if your marketing, message, and touch points with your clients or with your clients' clients can help to sort and prioritize, it would be a great service. It would be great marketing. It's a very important point. So think starting from that aspect. Personalized service. I mean, we all know the extreme personification that took place over the last years, basically. It's been around for a long time. I don't mean that, right? I think it's well and truly done. Now what we expect is a personal service, feeling that this is servicing me in a particular way that is useful. And here we come to the useful and production of usefulness. And that's always something that I produce within the context of my life. So usefulness is produced in these touch points where I all the time make decisions about, is this useful service for me? Now, that's a very important point. Women are particularly tough audience here. Digital services have been really slow on coming to women. So women aren't, the common knowledge is like women are just not interested in technology. Hell yeah, we're not interested in technology unless it solves my problem, right? So think of women, produce something that's useful. Hey, it was 2015. You're not alone, guys. I think it was 2015 for the first time when the world's biggest software on health monitoring, eye health, finally discovered menstruation. It's an amazing thing for humankind. 2015, humankind, not a big deal. For engineers in Silicon Valley, huge breakthrough. There's only 2% of those are women, so I suppose, in coffee rooms, this is not a common discussion. But really, seriously, earth calling. So what I mean is it's a pretty recent thing. So come back to this life, this body, and provide something that will solve problems. Is that cool? Okay, sorry. Right. So personalized service, something that feels relevant to me and would be therefore useful. If it's not relevant, we just move on. There goes your message, there goes your process, there goes your fancy tech. Tough. So relevance and usefulness. Give us something that we can use to solve. Women have particularly many challenges in everyday lives. And this is a business case. Women may, by far, the majority of everyday purchase decisions. Women. Right, anyway, I know, this is very advanced. Sorry. And now we come to another sort of a bit challenging, because we love our stuff. Everything is beautiful nowadays. There isn't ugly marketing any longer, which is a very happy thought. But basically, so everything's beautiful, everything is always fabulous. But seriously, you're busy. We don't have time for engagement. Nobody's spent, in real life, in a real adult life, nobody spends that much time with your marketing content. It's just the ugly truth. It doesn't matter how pretty it is. And of course, it is pretty and beautiful. So basically, we struggle to stay present in those moments that are meaningful for us. Marketing, hands up those who feel that marketing is really meaningful to take up my life. Yeah, I know, because you are people. You're clever people, right? So we have so many other things to do. So sometimes, perhaps, if you think in service terms, if you can solve something simply, quickly, with a minimum of engagement, that can be a fabulous service. And it says, wow, it took me only 10 seconds. I didn't really have to pay attention to this. Think about it. We never think it in those terms because we always want someone to come and say, oh, isn't that lovely? But sometimes, I'm really grateful for those people who can solve my problem really fast. I will go back. So engagement and emergence in your content or in your process is not necessary. It can be the most fantastic service is almost something that you didn't even think that you used. And then it becomes Kleenex, right? So it's ever present. It's a concept that you can't live without. But that doesn't mean that you need to think about and dream about it seriously. So it's a very important point. Give us the freedom to be present in what is meaningful for us. That's a huge challenge, huge thing, huge service, huge gift that you can give with marketing. Think about it. It's so cool. And then, then we come to taming technology. And I talk about taming, and of course this is Mika Pantsar, word, which I really, really love. But this idea is like, we don't want more technology or more complex technology or technological complexities added to our lives. Look, it's enough as it is on our plate all the time. Things are changing. So basically, if you can tame the technology for us, and there are big companies who've actually built their whole business. I mean, like if you think about Apple, for example, it's a Soviet Union. I mean, like you don't know what's happening behind. That doesn't stop you from using it. Quite the contrary, we love using it because we have no idea how it works. So basically, most of the time, tame the technology for us. Just put it somewhere else. Then, of course, we come to obscure diagnostics and all that sort of thing. yeah. And tomorrow is 25th of May. But basically, but it's okay to say that out loud. Basically, we have all this tech running behind. Is it okay? Great. But it doesn't need to be in our face. I mean, like, how annoying has it been over the last 2 weeks to get those messages? Do we have your consent? You feel like you're in a school, dance, which was really painful. So basically, take care of that problematics of technology. Say, look, this might not be perfect. This might not be the only one. But we can push it back for you a little bit so that you have time to focus and make up your mind and be present elsewhere, right? And then the prediction. I mean, this prediction is, of course, something that's one of the most fantastic stuff that we have already. I mean, it's great when you get your Google Mail that tells you now, oh, yes, you're flying to Helsinki, you're flying to Sydney, you're flying to there next week, and here are the services that are It's really great. Personal assistant is a wonderful idea. Then there are degrees to this, in a sense of, how does it talk to you? Is it Jeeves? What would you like today, ma'am? Or is it your mother? Remember to take with you so and so. Or is it your friend? Oi, you're going out with Ello. So, you might, get some extra cash because you're going to get sloshed again, right? But what I mean in a sense, how does this kind of service you? Meaning, what is useful? How does it sound like? If this was IKEA, we'd be talking about things like, we'd be here with 10 engineers trying to solve a problem like, how does the predictive service sound like? At which particular point in the customer journey? We'd be engineering it from here to high heaven in the greatest detail. And that's why I like it, because that we have the engineering and the process power with us, in a sense. We take these things seriously now. And it's not just, throw it out there and hope for the best. Good luck. So predicting beyond the touch point, so that, for customer, for us in our everyday life, it doesn't really matter if you don't control all the touch points. So you can predict and you can offer stuff which is beyond. Because it's a service to recommend something or say, oh, you might be interested in this. It doesn't mean that you need to control it from Absolutely. And it's a very expensive business to start controlling everything. So thinking beyond just those points that we have to offer into what are the real life touch points. And they don't need to be yours. You don't have to own them. You don't need to control them. And that's not a failing. It's a very clever thing. I mean, I think about sort of something like Ikea, just obvious brand to take up. They've been able to brand the one moment in human life when you fight the chaos with brown boxes. It doesn't matter what brown box it is, to some degree. So that's enough. I mean, you don't need to try and brand everything there is in somebody's life and world. And that's a huge thing already. And then, of course, within that, there's a huge amount of touch points available. So predicting beyond. Prediction itself is pretty easy now, but how to fine-tune that? The prediction doesn't make it strategic. Thinking from the service point of view makes it strategic. How does it service? So those were my kind of really fan bits, in a sense, of what I love about what we can do now. And then comes the Amara's law. And this is probably something that you all know. I mean, it's a computer scientist, Stanford. Okay, right. We talk about Amara, computer scientist from Stanford. The colleagues don't quite remember if it was 60s or 70s, so this didn't happen a couple of weeks ago. But basically, it's one of the more clever things said about future predictions, because future predictions are usually absolute utter rubbish anyway. That's very bad. We make our best guess, and then it's usually very bad. But basically, Amara's law says that we try to overestimate the technology impact on a short term. So we are always saying, oh, it's the end of the world, and it's going to change everything. And that's hardly ever true, right? Quite the contrary, we underestimate the long-term effect and impact of technology. 25 years ago, nobody thought that interweb, as I call it, would change so many things. But it was kind of expected to change a lot of things at once. So that's a typical thing, for example. And it's Amara's law, right? The most sort of, this is probably something that you know a little bit better, which is basically known as the hype curve. It's an adaptation of Amara's law, right? The hype curve, I took Gartner, which is a very well-known analysis house, basically. This is, it's just, I can explain any hype curve with this. So, it's more fun than taking one of the recent technology hype curves. And there are many, and you've seen so many of them in any conference you go, right? So hype curve is exactly the kind of thing. Remember Chatbot 2016? How many of you were alive 2016? You look very young. Anyway, so, were you there? Chatbot. Chatbot was like the hottest thing. Now it's all over the place. But basically, let's take that as an example. We could use artificial intelligence. Wow, that is way, whoa, somewhere there. Everybody thinks it's going to change absolutely everything like yesterday already. So basically, I think you'd say artificial intelligence is somewhere there. A chatbot is truly kind of got very common. Everyone got them. It kind of, it didn't quite work the way it did. So this is a kind of disappointment curve. After huge hype and after we spent lots of money here, we've got all the same stuff as all our competitors and friends and all those sexy people. So basically, so now we've got everything and we've taken it home to our teams and say yes, now we've got everything. And our teams go I have no idea what to do with this. And, all that feeling, but we were in New York and it was fabulous. And this is your stack. That happens all the time. So basically then there is this, Okay, we don't know how to use this. Okay, we have no idea what to do with this. What? How much did you pay for this? How are you going to tell our board that was somehow useful? No, okay, right, all that. So that's going to cause a huge kind of, downfall. Then you're going to hit the bottom. Oh my God, we can't do anything with this. Yeah, and we need to, and the team is useless. Let's buy a new team. No, we can't buy a new team. You are fired. No, it's all that sort of thing. And then basically, if you tough it out in a sense, okay, we're going to stay with this for 6 months, and we're going to spend. We're really going to learn this one thing and how to use this one. It might not be perfect, but to learn to use this one thing. It starts slowly pay off in the sense that it starts working. It's not as sexy and exciting, and nobody gets a huge big buzz out of we can use this. But it's useful, and it's starting to. It takes a long time, 6 months, 12 months, 24 months to actually learn to use this and to understand what the consultants are telling us, and to see results and build our databases. And to learn, after we've uploaded lots of stuff to the camel, then it's going to turn into a tiger and we can get something out of it. So basically, here we are. We see this hype curve all the time with new technology. And it's just how it is. We just get excited about new things, new toys, and new ideas. So that's good to remember. You're probably going to invest to some degree, hopefully not too much. And there's going to be some disappointment. And like I said, there's no shortcut to knowledge. So hands-on, you have to do this. Just saying mind and neuromarketing is nothing unless you actually know what it means. And then that means work to get there. And then there are real downfalls and problematics. Okay, right. So I'm going to end with a couple of miserable things. How much time do I have? No, cut. So 3 points about data and how, now that you think, are there any old school marketing people here? Go, good. I was just going to say, go and buy beers to these people. Because, just that you have data. We have lots of data. Oh dear. That often cases, what I see is actually takes you further away from your customers and clients. So people start very easily, and this is something I know from e-commerce particularly, very easily treating data as if it was the real person. It's a bit like you start thinking, which you wouldn't obviously, that someone's Facebook profile was the real person. That's the difference. That's what I mean. There's a lot of noise. You know all these couples who spend lots of time in Facebook telling each other how fabulous they are and how much they love each other. Oh dear, there's going to be divorce in 6 months' time. So there's a lot of noise, which is basically people are kind of, there's a lot of unnecessary stuff because every disruption, every just clinch leaves a mark in your data. So your data turns into a huge junkyard, basically. That's what it is, unless you know what to look for and how to use it. And this is what I mean. The data doesn't solve that kind of problem. The other thing is that there's all the time all kind of disruptions and interruptions which are of no consequence. We all heard a knocking, but because I keep on talking and we're having this conversation, there's no consequence to this knocking. This knocking would result an awful lot of data. There's a lot of data points there, and it's completely useless and unnecessary, and it doesn't link to anything. It's just, it just happened to be there. So data needs to be dealt with certain amount of skepticism and particularly some kind of an idea of what reality is like, for you to be able to really harness it. And then just accept that is about an awful lot of graveyard, junkyard type of digging to analyze that. So that's a very important point. If you try and collect everything, do everything and all that, this is going to take up your life, your will to live, your whole team who will be emigrating to other companies, somewhere near you, unfortunately. And it's going to end up taking all your energy, easily. So focus on a few practical things. So take something that doesn't need to be incredibly expensive at one go and play with it and try it out and learn. And you make mistakes and you look silly. Hey, you're in really good company because everyone does that. Unless they're lying really well. But basically, practical approach. Try something off the shelf or with some good people. Try it out, see what comes out of it. Does it work? You have one landing page that seems to be working. That's really great. See what you can do with that, how you can develop that. I mean, having 50 landing pages, good luck with keeping your people in the same office with you. And your energy. And your family after the summer spent in the office and all that sort of thing. So basically, stay with few things. Try something out and see how it works. Does it work for you? Might work for the competition, might not work for you. And then we come to the automation and prediction. And of course, this automation question is something that we've done many years. So there's already experience of that. But automation and prediction, and this is a problem. Automation, if you talk to salespeople, you should really talk to salespeople. When I listen to salespeople, they tell me that, great, yes, we have this automatic system. My clients are calling me and saying, stop that stuff coming towards us. We don't want it. We don't need it. Our situation has changed. And I say to people, we can't do anything about it. It's automated. So it just keeps hammering our... it's like my students. I said, okay, right, you sent out the survey. Yes, that's great. Yes, we send out the survey on Monday, and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we send out the reminders. I said, you what? So basically, they flood it at one go. Ooh! Anyone who might be even slightly interested in answering the survey, they just feel like, I hate these people forever. I never, ever want to see these people. So automation can be a terrible thing if there's no predictive aspect to it, or if you can't adjust it, or if it's not sensitive to changes in needs. In everyday life, our practices are predictable, but the kind of what happens in that street corner in a moment's time, there can be all sorts of things that can happen in that street corner. So even though it's predictable, it doesn't mean that it's definitely going to go like trail works. So that's problematic. So this kind of thinking needs an awful lot of sense of nuance in the systems. It's really, really difficult to master. And that's why I say, start small, a few things. And those who've already been there, they know what that means. And those who are late bloomers and coming into this, and they might have some wonderful systems which date back to DOS. Yeah, well, trust me, I've seen things. It might be a good idea to kind of hold back and try and think, okay, there might be a lot of moaning, of giving up to be able to kind of get into this train. So to project it and turn it into best possible under the circumstances might be a really good idea. That was all I had to say today. Thank you for inviting. And please think about solving other people's problems and your own We're all in this game. Cheers.
Thank you, Saara. What a great speaker. Now you might have some questions to Saara. Also, there is live stream questions that might, if you have some, Tanya. But now the live persons here, what do you want to ask from Saara? You can think about it later. I have one question.
Wake! It's lunch!
After that you can have lunch, but not before. Yes. But one question, because you are a professor and you know everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
yes. Could you give some examples of the best companies that gives you the best customer experience? I know IKEA is the best, you have to say that, but what other companies there might be?
I mean, first of all saying, I mean, we're incredibly aware of the fact that IKEA is struggling in an awful lot of ways. All retailers are struggling. It's a really, really tough marketplace. So even though you might be putting all your money into developing a great customer sort of experience and customer journey, it might be the journey changes completely, or that your journey becomes, or your touch points become redundant, and that is a hugely difficult journey to make. And I think IKEA would be the first one to say that, you know, it's really tough. It's really difficult. But then again, I don't know any retailer who wouldn't say that, unless you're Amazon, right? And we'll see what happens in the future with that. When it comes to kind of humble services, I think the software companies and the big companies have been building a customer experience which is simple and wonderful over many years. I think Google is doing wonderful prediction stuff. I think Facebook has been putting a lot of into this, basically. Then how far does it go? What kind of services does it provide you? In a sense, when it comes to normative control, which Facebook or Twitter are currently doing, it might be too much. It might be going too far, and it might be basically killing your sort of idea. And then, of course, this idea of technology, taming the technology. I mean, like, where's the limit? So basically, the software companies have been doing really well, all the big four, over the last few years. But if you think about service industry, and I mean particularly hospitality, it's amazing how well Finnair, that got really slowly into this game, like really slowly into this game, is now getting better and better all the time in providing service that is kind of alive and seem to be solving problems instead of causing more problems. That's not good, by the way. So, causing more problems to people. It's not good strategy. We don't do that here.
Remember that.
Yeah, so that's really good. But SAS has been doing that for a great many years. So I think the best, I mean, if you look about Airbnb, how it basically works and how it has been developed, even some wonderful Finnish companies which are basically bringing together now these hospitality services are doing really good job. So simple, effortless solution that kind of runs into your life, kind of finds your life without making a huge hassle are the ones that most people enjoy. But I think travel, definitely travel, hospitality, e-commerce are there among the best, among some of the worst as well. So as it happens in all industries, there are always, the top between industries is much closer to each other than the top and the bottom of any given industry. Just saying.
Okay, thank you. So very simple thing actually, but not so easy to produce.
Really
actually.
Difficult to do.
We have to understand the customers.
Yeah, and just let them do their part. Let us do our part and produce that usefulness.
Yes.
That could be a really great gift.
Other questions, better questions.
I'm going to hang around here for a little bit. So if you have something that comes to mind, any suggestions, cases, insults, happy to. Yeah.
Five-dimension study public, or is it?
Yes, absolutely.
There's nothing. I couldn't find it. So.
You can find it. Okay. There is a link. It's in the internet.
Okay.
It's even my doctoral. Yeah, I know, interweb, as we call it lovingly. Basically, there's even my doctoral student who tells you all the sort of executive summary points. It should be, like Life at Home 2017. Try it in that, what's that? Optimized search engine thing. Good, excellent. Yeah, you need a professor optimizing your search, obviously. We're happy to serve.
Was there one hand up? No. Yes, it was.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. This is a personal opinion question. This week I've been listening to a couple of speeches about disruptions and about companies trying to improve things by improving a little bit each part, whether that will actually make anything better or if you should just kind of take it apart and start something new. Opinion.
This is a philosophical question. In a sense that if you're a big established company, obviously the kind of an idea, great, let's scrap it all and start from the beginning. I don't think it's going to go down that well, particularly if you've got a couple of DOS-based systems. So it's really, so that's tough. The changing something is very, very different. But even the incremental systems, incremental, meaning building on, improving certain aspects, and particularly improving processes, is something that's still a lot that one can do. I think everyone can basically do that. So there's something in there. Yes and no is the answer. But what I would say, this is something, and this is based on something I learned when we were looking at a tiny German company called Airbus. And basically, and there was a lot of disruptive stuff going on regarding their networks. And this was like aerospace division. So there's a lot of things happening there in the networks and strategic networks of how to think of things. So you can basically disrupt something in a different way, in a sense of not within your company, but basically you can be part of something which can then have huge impact. So it kind of yes and no. Then if you are a startup, is there any other kind of a startup thinking that basically, let's go disrupt somebody else? I thought that was the startup kind of starting point. That's the start in the startup. So basically you always kind of plan to go disrupt someone else and make somebody else's life miserable. In the industry. It's a wonderful thing to do. So you should always aim for something like that. And that means that basically you don't need to wait for the IPO because somebody wants to buy you off at some point because you've become so irritable or just basically too good. So go for it. And then it depends where you are and who you are, and what do you want to do, and what's in your nature, type of thing. Does that help at all? Yeah, that's an opinion. That's my...
Collecting information and maybe it helps.
Yeah.
Okay, one more.
Is there some kind of size of a company when marketing technology and this predictive modeling actually becomes useful? Because it's at some point it's a cost. So
I would say, a couple of years ago it would have been something... Okay, right, let's come back to the hype curve, right? If you invest on the upsurge of hype curve, that means that you need to have enough money. Because that means your biggest investment is not buying the stuff in, but basically they don't have the technology yet. So they end up on developing the technology on you developing the technology with them. That means you can usually get it cheap, but that means that your people are going to be developing the stuff together with... We know how this game works. Get a customer in so we can develop this thing, on someone and then sell that, right? So if you're there, you need to have that kind of money. That's possible. for you to do. But then you might end up in the kind of Helsinki case of Apotti, which is so you end up, building a kind of a Sagra Familia of software. Sorry, but there's a Barcelona reference there. But basically, you end up building something, and by the end, that it's almost like done. It's not even done. Somebody says like, you can get something similar off the shelf nowadays. My son did this at school, and that's a really annoying thing. So I would say now, and then that there are big movers that actually give this stuff for free currently. So I would say that the size. This is such a classic thing. I've always wanted to say this. Size doesn't matter. In the same sense as it used to. So unless you're there, where you end up basically developing half of the technology that might not always, or not the part that you wanted is going to use, it's not necessarily, there are a lot of off-the-shelf stuff now, and there are lots of solutions for small companies, very small companies or middle-sized companies. So you can basically, and plus there's no switching cost. Imagine if you have, I use this example because I heard it 3 weeks ago and it was so staggering that, there are companies who have still some DOS-based systems. So imagine, you have to invest quite a lot. The switching cost is huge. I think you should definitely put the money in there. But if you don't have a switching cost, it's not necessary that much. So I would argue, if this is a point, that it's not necessarily a size thing. But there are other things. What do you want to do in a sense of, who is your client? Who are you aiming for? What do you try and do? What's your strategic kind of aim? That is the most central thing, right? That's all I can really muster before lunch.
Okay, thank you, Saara.
Cheers.
Let's give a big applause. And we will have 3 more good speakers, but before that we'll have some lunch. And that is, I think that's there. Please serve yourself. Okay, show continues. You have our next speaker is Mr. Henrik Lagercrantz, and he's marketing automation, marketing tech superpower, the most wise nerd that I ever met, and also customers loves Henrik. And because I have to leave, Henrik will also be the host of the afternoon after me. But Mr. Lagercrantz, big hand.
Thank you. Thank you, Matti. We have audio, we have seen some dog pictures, and we were doing a little bit technical adjustments there. Thank you, everybody, for staying after that delicious lunch we had there. The rest of this kick-ass session will be all about managing and developing your marketing technology stack. As so elaborately presented by Matti, my name is Henrik Lagercrantz. I'm the VP of Technical Excellence at IDBBN, and we're going to be having I don't want to say a threesome here with a few other presenters, but we are going to be tackling this topic with myself, then with a case from Atea, as well as from a case with F-Secure from a little bit different aspects. And without further ado, let us jump into the deep end of the pool by starting with a little bit definitions of what are we actually talking about when we're talking about marketing technology stacks. And I think the easiest way to get our lingo aligned is to look at a few examples of industry leaders, how they have defined and created elaborate schemes of how their tech stack is all aligned beautifully together. And the first example here is from Cisco, a small startup from the United States of America. And what we have here is their marketing technical stack, or basically they call it digital engagement stack, where we have a whole bunch of different technologies, logos up there in the outer ring there. And how they have categorized their technologies is basically through their buyer funnel here. So awareness, intent, actually becoming a customer here, and then renewal. So the buyer cycle goes here from the inner circle to the outer layers. And then they have defined with these dots that which technologies are being used at which stages of the buyer cycle in here. And they have categorized this also into divisions by customer, by partner, seller, and data and operations here, which is then divided into 3 different categories there as well. And this basically communicates very powerfully the extent and the focus and the purpose of each technology that they're actually using in their operations. And here you can see which technologies are most omnipresent throughout the buying cycle here, and they have the data management platform BlueKai, marketing automation platform Eloqua, and then Salesforce here presented with 4 dots all across. So looks very simple and easy, might be a little bit more complicated at the very back end there. A little bit different example here from a company called Aalto-Setälä. They have divided their operations into 2 different segments here: running marketing and doing marketing. And what they mean by running marketing is all the thingamajigs that go on at your company when you're planning and doing communications internally. So this is all that operations going behind the scenes, and then here's the curtain, and here enter the customer or potential prospect here, and here we have the theater of what actually is going to be visible to that end, and then categorized basically that which technology is used in which phases of these 2 categories. And they have also grouped their technologies data acquisition and management, content creation, delivery, social engagement, and so forth. So tagging them for their function in there as well. The third example here, a little bit more of a simple landscape of technology, but what they have introduced here, an additional layer, is the two-way synchronization and one-way synchronization of data between platforms. So this is one information level more deeper that the previous ones were, because they are telling that, okay, which platforms are integrated with each other and what is the relationship between these platforms. This is basically also a funnel in a sense here, that this is where they start to build their traffic from, website conversions, nurturing flows happening here. Let's not jump ahead. And then web form conversions, entering data lake and Tableau. And the numbers here present which processes are run with which of these platforms. So I think Pointillist here makes an excellent point that basically we are talking about the collection of tools and programs that your company or organization is using to orchestrate and manage the customer experience with data, content, and communications. So thus, I think it's a very good point that instead of using the little bit off-putting term of marketing technology, Martech, we should call it customer experience management stack or customer experience technology, which already has a point to it, and it's much more relevant, and you can get people involved with your team that we're talking about customer experience instead of just plain old tech stuff. So I am going to be starting to stick with this term instead of the marketing technology. Let's see how well that transition goes over. But basically, how does one get to take control of that whole behemoth? Previous presenter Saara was talking about taming the beast. So definitely that's a monster beast to be tamed there, especially looking at the Cisco example. So how does one gain control of this situation, and why would one even want to take control of it? Here's a quick graph, plenty of these to be had in the interwebs, which all sing the same song, that business and all monies involved with marketing technologies, that is about to double or at least grow by 50% within the next 5 years, depending on how you categorize your technology areas. So in here, by Forrester in 2017, this is marketing automation segment, so doubling within the 5 next years. Basically, this is just a story that how technology is just coming into all of the processes and all the aspects of business communication and renewing competencies, capabilities, and everything within the business marketing communication. So basically, singing the same song of technology is taking over our lives and so forth. And in here, the rise of the CX manager as a job title is also one indication there that the customer experience is a very, very buzzword, has been for a while already. And companies are using customer experience as a revenue driver and a key differentiation factor when considering the much more advanced and much the competition landscape, which is getting fiercer and fiercer, IKEA and so forth. So also today, one cannot have a talk without mentioning GDPR, so must drop that in there. So if and when you have a holistic understanding of your marketing technology landscape, you of course then have the ropes in your hand to understand where your data sits, how it's been used, for what purposes, and where the risks in there might lie. But this is something that you all are probably already very, very, very on top of things, since tomorrow is the pop quiz coming up for everybody in there. But okay, how to then actually start to get control of your CX stack? So here we have a very, very beautifully crafted visualization of Microsoft's stack here, which, of course, a person without Adobe products, Photoshop, and all kinds of even better platforms cannot build by themselves, but do start from the place that you have a holistic understanding of which technologies you yourselves in your organization are using, how they relate to each other, and starting from basically the processes that you're currently managing within your organization, which tools are used in those processes, and what is the functional label of that tool, and what is it actually being used for. And also, in getting control of situations, what are the organizational functions that are contributing into these tools and processes? For instance, in those examples, we had those different divisions, so multiple different divisions might be using the same tools and so forth. And it's very, very beneficial to tie all of this technology together, as these examples have shown, into the buyer cycle, the funnel, or the buyer journey, in the sense that that creates familiarity to anybody you're trying to communicate that, okay, this is the situation, this is the landscape, a situation that is very, very likely to occur if you're renewing or doing anything, trying to manage that operation. You need to be able to communicate, this is the current situation, and you need to understand where you are there. So if you are in a situation, yeah, been there, done that, we have that mapped and we have our ecosystem. Well, the next level operation would be then defining that exactly, that which platforms are integrated with each other. And the third level in-depth operation would then be, okay, which data fields are actually going, being exchanged and integrated between these platforms, which would be then already like a system architecture description, quite close to that. But okay, if you arrive at a new company, a new position, as mentioned by Saara, there are these old, ancient Jurassic Park type of DOS systems lurking around in some organizations, and the CX stack has not happened overnight. So it might be a result of a tens years of evolution, starting from DOS-based operations, which has its own evolution that you cannot have influenced prior to that. But you, to be able to succeed in your job, in your role, you would need to become the intelligent designer of that whole operation and the behemoth. So you need to tame the beast there. So how does one get from the situation that now I know where we are, we have our landscape here, we have these technologies used for these processes, how do I map out where are we going to go with this? Where am I going to develop? What are the key operations, and how to manage and lead this whole process and stack? So for this, of course, you would need a vision in the sense that, okay, where are we going to be taking this? And the key questions to ask there is that, okay, what are the main development or improvement areas within your organization? From strategy, from sales, you might have sales targets. You might want to include new new segments or new business areas. You might be expanding to new countries or anything. But look at what your organization in general, what are the processes there? What requirements for your organization? And if there's some functions that are completely missing, or you are failing at something, and your data and analytics are showing that, okay, we should be actually improving on this option, this gives you the information that, okay, this is the area of place where we are lacking in process or lacking in technology or something, that we need to focus on that. And then look at, okay, which technologies are we actually using in those areas? What are we leveraging there? And what is the actual current situation, why you have ended up in a situation where you might be failing or missing. So getting a good understanding of what has led to you to this situation and what is the direction that your organization and goals are driving you towards. And then looking at the tools in there that do the existing technologies meet the demand that you have for those processes. To do this, you then need to understand, okay, if we need to improve here, how would the improved process look like? So understanding how the whole operation would be run, then it's easier to design, okay, which tools can actually support our process instead of taking in a tool that dictates how our process is being run. So basically, at this stage, It might be a case that you might not even need new tools. It might be a question of processes or people that can meet and reach those targets. But in a situation where you see, okay, we need to leverage more technology to be able to reach the desired effects, then you have basically two choices. Get new technology, replace old ones in that sense with new tools, or supercharge and amend existing technologies, which basically means adding new custom features, customization on top of the existing ones, which might be like a temporary solution or enable some more agile process development instead of embarking on a let us change a DOS-based system that is running this aerospace show here. So that might be quite a long process to run, so it's always worth considering. And of course, new technology, new processes, which internal stakeholders do you need to be consulting to get feedback from and understand how they are tied into the whole operation. Inevitably, you will run in a situation, okay, we are going to be needing new technology for this, and this is the landscape we're currently in. What is the best fit for us, for this purpose, for this process? These are the things that you should be considering. I'm going to raise out a few points here as key components. As you are looking for components that will fit your current landscape, integration capability of that new tool compared to the integration requirements that your processes and the landscape that the functions that you are taking that tool in to manage. There is for sure situations that you are going to be needing this and this information inside this tool to be able to automate certain things, to be able to leverage information that you have. So making sure that you understand where that critical data that this is going to be sitting very close with, where does that sit and how does the integration capabilities there look like. Also, new tool onboarding, of course, the tool user interface and the usability, the user experience of using that tool itself for the staff members or yourself, a very, very impactful criteria when looking at adoption rate or at the rate of which how successfully you are doing operations with that technology. So if you have a crappy user interface and your staff does not enjoy and like using that, then for sure you will see that at the bottom end and basically the hype cycle operation going on in there. Key components as well are the partners. So depending on the size, if it's a small webinar platform contrasted to a CRM renewal or an ERP platform replacement, partners play a crucial role in either the onboarding part or then the continuous operation. Smaller technologies you yourself can of course take on board, but do consider partners in the sense that if onboarding or the continuous support is needed, do vet your partners very, very well and ask references and what do other people say. Do they have the expertise? Are they in the correct segment and so forth. Scalability in the sense that if your organization decides to adopt that specific tool in a more broad context, let's say a new business unit, a new country. I'm breaking stuff here. So you do need to take into account that what happens to the usage of that tool if instead of 2 users, we have 20 users. If instead of 1 country, we have 5 countries and 5 sets of data. How will that become? Will that become a chaos or will that be managed accordingly? And thus data storage, privacy policies, where's the data actually stored and what are you saying where you store your data in your policies? Of course, pricing might be a small impact in there, but definitely the model plays a crucial role that same technologies might be in very, very different price points per different organizations depending on the model with which that pricing is constructed in general. Of course, there's the onboarding project and the data migrations, which were already basically addressed by Saara in the sense that replacing an old DOS system with a fully new one, as it's already running all kinds of operations, it might be a much bigger operation than just adding a small new webinar platform, for instance. But as mentioned, integrations very crucial in orchestrating your tech stack. Integrations have also been mentioned as the number one pain point for managers when looking at their orchestration and their data leveraging, in the sense that wanting to become data-driven or insight-driven organization, they might have the individual tools, they might have even the data, but it's been investigated over and over again, and we did our own survey of marketing automation in that context, and it all say that integrations between platforms is one of the highest pain points for just about all organizations. And especially this aspect needs to be considered when onboarding new technology into an existing landscape. So we have here 5 most common types of integration categories here. Each tool, especially if it's a cloud-based solution, usually offers already a handful of built-in connectors that our product is out of the box integratable into this and this platform. For instance, in marketing automation platforms, they have built-in connectors to some social media outlets as well as CRMs. So these are like a point-and-click tools that allow you to do an integration without nobody doing any coding of any sorts. Then we have a whole different beast here, the integration middleware, which is basically third-party software which becomes then an own logo on your ecosphere there. So it's separate technology with a separate cost, which allows you to integrate multiple platforms with each other and do perhaps even a data synchronization in the middle there. So this integration middleware could be actually used for the entire platform integration operations that you're managing, not just point to point. So you might have a situation where, for instance, looking at the Cisco example there in the beginning, that's probably a result of tens, if not 100 integrations going on in there. So you might not want to do point to point, but you might want to definitely leverage an integration middleware software there. Then, of course, custom programming. You take system 1, system 2, and throw in a developer and say that to make these things talk to each other, and here are the fields that you need to be making them exchange. So this is creating a custom program looking like a DOS-based operation running on a server, which does exactly that integration for that specification on the intervals that you define it, but it's usually just one system talking to each other. And then we have this little bit lo-fi operations here, file swaps in batches, either automated or manually operated. So using the APIs of those software, it takes a bunch of data and it exchanges it between others, so automated or manually operated. One operation or one model that's missing here is integration as a service. So you might be able to purchase integrations as a running operation from some companies with utilizing their own software there. But basically, this was my introduction into the topic of marketing technology, customer experience, stack management. Next up, we have Hanna Vesenterä from Atea, who is a very experienced global attention-reaching marketing legend who basically has her feet in 2 different domains. There's the marketing strategy and there's the technology strategy, and she's kicking the ball left and right. Definitely, I want to quit my mumbo jumbo and let the actual experts speak. So please give a big hand to Hanna.
Thanks, Henrik. That was really nice things what you said. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Hanna Vesenterä, and I'm a marketing director in Atea, Finland. And I will tell you a story about one of the most interesting working life journey what I have experienced. And this case, it is about how the Atea's marketing team built their ecosystem, what the systems and what components are included, how we are using it, and what we have accomplished with it. When I look at the journey backwards, I must say that it has definitely been worth of every single penny. But at the same time, it has been really, really tough. Really often we have felt that our heads are really aching, and this stuff has been so difficult. But we have also learned so much during that journey. We have made so much mistakes, we have tried, and then we have stopped, and we have built and unbuilt, and then tried again. And this is where we are now. And this is so interesting and fascinating world when you look at the new technology and all the possibilities, what is coming on, constantly developing technology. And I feel at this time that finally we are nearly able to do really data-driven and marketing automation with help of the artificial intelligence and machine learning. It's really here, all those possibilities. Just a few words about Atea, our background to understand more our challenges. Atea is the biggest IT infrastructure company in Nordic and the second largest in Europe. Our mission is build future with IT, and we are helping other companies to build the digital workplaces. So we sell hardware, software, and services. And we sell that stuff to all size of customers. We sell that through the account management model, and we also have got our own web shop. We are all 7,000 in Nordics, and in Finland we have got a bit less than 400 colleagues. But this story is not the corporate story. It's Atea Finland's own story, and actually it's a story about Atea Finland's marketing team, which is actually sitting on that first table, and most of them. And it's a story how that team has made that thing possible by out themselves. When we started to plan that our ecosystem, technology wasn't definitely not the driver. Our biggest driver was that we wanted to build a superior customer experience. And on the other hand, we wanted to make more sales. We wanted to increase our digital sales. And I truly believe that you really need to understand that customer journey before you start to build or plan your ecosystem. You need to understand it, and after that you can figure out how to communicate during the customer journey touch points. And in Atea cases, there are so many different kind of journeys, and that is making it really, really difficult, because our offering is really wide. We are serving B2B, and there are all kind of size of customers. In some cases, there are a lot of decision makers, and in some cases, there's only one. And example, there might be the case the company goes to web shop and they buy a mobile phone, and our work is get them to buy more and stay there. Or there might be the case we are selling IT services, and buying cycles are extremely long. It can be 2 years, and there can be really many decision makers. So you really need to choose where to start. You can't build an ecosystem for all those customer journeys at once. We had that huge vision at the beginning that we really wanted to be able to orchestrate this whole customer journey communication, and also offer our customer more relevant communication. And we wanted to know when to talk to them, when is right time to buy, and what is the right time to send them messages. Okay, are we there yet? Definitely not. But we are in a good start and we can see a lot of results. And this ecosystem, which I'm showing to you in a minute, it really gives us so much possibilities in the future to build this entire communication. Okay. So we really had, at the beginning, we had the difficulties to keep in the customer journey and data flow structures. We had a lot of manual processes. When customer came in, new customer, they didn't even might have any messages from us. And we had a lot of customers who didn't hear anything from us, only those who had their own account managers. So we needed to create really well-organized digital marketing ecosystem to help us with all this. And we always, one of our main goals was increase the sales. We are measuring half of the marketing activities are measured by how much digital sales we can bring in with our marketing activities and with our ecosystem. That was one goal. And then we wanted to, like I said, we wanted to improve that overall customer experience. We wanted to increase self-service among SMB customers, those customers who don't have their own account managers. We also, I think the most important thing is, and I think we have learned it now, but you really need to work with the sales when you plan an ecosystem. Our goal was align sales and marketing, but just like the past half a year, we have really started to work together. And we wanted to ease data flow and measurement and also increase quantity and quality with the customer interactions. We call our ecosystem Customer Lifecycle Engine. It's an integrated collection of all kind of systems, and there is the Oracle's Eloqua in the middle as a centerpiece. And we call it Customer Lifecycle Engine because it's for all kind of communication, not just the marketing and sales. It's for all kind of communication, what we want to do with the Atea's customers. And this is how does it look like, this busy picture. It's describing all those systems, what we have integrated each other. Those boxes are those systems, and those arrows are describing the data. And that's really important thing. I mean, system integrations, that doesn't matter, but data, you need to get that data flow through the systems, and you need to get that data together to understand the customer needs. I tell you about a few things. There is Oracle's Eloqua, marketing automation systems, and we are bringing information from CRM to Eloqua about the customer accounts, opportunities, contact information, lead information, and sales activities. We are bringing that information from CRM to Eloqua and from Eloqua to CRM. We are also bringing all the purchase history from our ERP to Eloqua. So we can see by company and by contact in Eloqua what they have bought. And then we have integrated our eShop, which is our web shop. We are bringing all the behavior data from eShop. When our customers, we can see in marketing automation when the customer comes in, do they buy or not, have they registered, what they do after registration, etc. And then there is a lot of extra systems like rich relevance, which is making like a more personalized recommendation. When we are sending emails, we can use rich relevance to make it personal. And then there are third-party DMP, we are using Enrich, and with what we can do like native marketing, targeted marketing. So we wanted to bring that all customer information in Eloqua. And that enables us to make like intelligent and relevant marketing. Busy slide again, but this describes the layers, different layers in our ecosystem. First, there is awareness, content layer. So it's for attracting new customers. We are doing Google marketing, Facebook, LinkedIn marketing, and using that enriched DMP for native targeted marketing. Then there's the engagement layer. So there are all the content like the event, blogs, videos, ebooks, and invitation and things like that. Then is marketing automation layer, and that is activated when customer comes in. When they create account in an eShop, marketing automation layer activates. And a few words about the things what we are doing with that layer. We have got that. We have got quite many programs in there, but there's one example, that Watchdog program. It monitors customer status and sends targeted emails tailored to each situation. Example, if customer make a registration in eShop, but they don't buy, they get certain kind of message. And it's in the marketing automation. We have done it before, and this ecosystem and those marketing automation flows tells that send that email to that customer. Or if they don't buy anything in 6 months, we are bringing all that purchase data to Elokua, and that with that we are able to do that. Or they click all our discount letters and they don't buy. Or we do cross-sell campaigns. If a customer buys Apple phone, we can send them new mail like about related articles or related devices. Then there is a customer data layer. We are bringing third-party data like demographic information about the customers. And then the fifth layer is about the BI, and that's not ready yet. We are just planning about it. There are a lot of possibilities how to use that data, what we have got, and also to use different predictive analysis and algorithm to make that more intelligent. And this is our timeline. We started 2015. Then we had that Elokua Oracle onboarding, and since then we have been building that ecosystem. First, we integrated our main systems like a CRM, and we are using Microsoft Dynamics CRM, and our ERP and eShop. And then some smaller systems we integrated to that ecosystem and started to bring all the campaigns to marketing automation. 2016, we created new kind of lead process and added more like those intelligent tool to our ecosystem. And 2017, 2018, we have been building upsell, cross-sell campaigns, micro campaigns, and that Watchdog program who is following what customers are doing and what are their situation. And this should be 2018. Now we're just about to plan how to bring more intelligence to our system and how we can use like a machine learning and artificial intelligence. We don't know yet, but we definitely want to try, and we want to see how does it help. Like, is it really gonna be a marketing automation after that? Now it needs few hands to do all that stuff. Okay. Like I said, this journey has definitely been worth every penny, but and like I said, we are really for half of the marketing is measured by how much money we bring to the company, how much people are buying from webshop, and we have been really successful with that, and our digital sales have grown after over 120% since we have been bringing that ecosystem and these stuff in. We have also increased our customer integrations overall in Atea from 200,000 per month to 600,000 per month. And that was our goal from the beginning. We wanted to create a bigger awareness Now we want to do it more targeted way, but we did create awareness and also had a more SQL and MQL leads, like 40%. So these results are telling to me, my colleagues and everyone in Atea that ecosystem is something, at least it has been to us, that it has been worth it to do all that stuff and build that system. And there are so many more possibilities left. Of course, there is also a lot of soft benefits and outcomes. And like I said before, we had really manual processes. And when a new customer came in, they didn't hear anything from us. Sometimes someone did send an email if they remembered. And all the customer related activity was on account manager's shoulder. If the customer wasn't named to account manager, we don't have that many. And in Finland, we have got about 200,000 or 300,000 companies, so we don't have got that many account managers. And we have got web shop where every single Finnish company can buy. So there were a lot of like a potential customer who didn't hear anything from us. And now we are working tightly with the sales team. And that's the one thing I'm really happy about, because nowadays we start to make our customer plans together with the sales, marketing and sales. And sales is telling us what kind of marketing the customer wants. And it can also, effects can be seen outside the marketing and sales, because when you put the customer in the center, you really need to start to work with many departments. There are like other services and customer service departments. Now we are figuring out with them how they join to that customer lifecycle ecosystem and how we communicate with them. And in the future, this will be the heart of our client communication. It has been excellent dissolving all these silos, and there are plenty of more Atea departments we are bringing together and figuring out this overall customer experience. And as the way we are really on the way to automate all the like demo orders, contract renewals, user management, cross-selling, etc., and bringing that information in marketing automation. Soon future we will be able to show that data to all Atea's people and sales people, so they can understand better what their customer behavior. This was a short introduction to our ecosystem, and here are my contact information if you want to ask something. And here are my team members. You can ask from them also. And now I say thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Hanna, for that inspirational journey description that you had there. We're going to be opening discussions here with the audience as well. So if you do have questions, do let us know. We'll also include questions and answers after the last presenter. So if something still sparks up, you will have time to ask. But something that is brewing up in my mind is that your journey started in that sense fairly recently. So you are a very agile organization in that sense. But what elements in that ecosystem that you presented, were some of them basically dictated to you that, okay, because of reason X, this platform is going to be this, and which were the ones that you basically had free hands to choose? So how much were you hands tied or hands fully free?
Okay, good question. We did choose a marketing automation platform by ourselves. And we did that in Atea corporate level. But all the other systems, like CRM, ERP, and eShop webshop platform, they have been given to us. But I don't see any problem, because the Eloqua has been really flexible with these integrations, and I can say that we are nearly managed to do all that stuff what we wanted to, even those other systems were giving. And then there will be, like now we are planning to integrate ServiceNow to that. It's also system what we have been giving from the Atea corporate, so both.
Yes, you make do with what you are given and play the poker game in that sense as well.
Yes.
So when looking, you mentioned your ambitions for the predictive marketing and the development in there. Which organizational departments do you most collaborate when looking at developing that functionality and those features? So
we start with marketing and sales. And it's really have rising topic in the whole Atea sales and marketing departments, and we really want to be in the future more able to lead this sales process with the knowledge and the data.
Any audience questions? There's multiple, but you were first. You were first right there.
So you said at the very beginning that looking back, you felt like it definitely was worth it. Every penny that you spent on it, and all the probably blood and tears. But looking back, what would you have done maybe differently, or what are the things that you have learned, and maybe what would you tell your earlier version of what would you do better next time, or someone who's at the beginning of that journey?
I wouldn't change anything because it has been learning process, but it's really a stupid thing, but you just need to stop planning, start doing, and we have been pretty fast because we've been a bit crazy. We just decided we just do things, and we had a really tight schedule, and we did a lot of things wrong. But that's the only way, because it's original ecosystem. It's your companies. You have got different system. You need to start to talk with IT if it's necessary, and you need to start that kind of things.
Then we had a few hands here in the front, or was it the same question? There we go.
I can ask. I just wanted to know, you mentioned that you wanted to start working with sales more, and then within the past year and a half, it really has kind of started working. Can you talk a little more about that? Like, what actually has worked? How did you start the process, and what are you doing together?
Yeah. When I started in the marketing team a few years ago, I thought I know everything, and we just sent that message and that message. Now marketing knows. We did our buyer personas by ourselves and things like that. And I think it's in every company, sales are not entirely satisfied with the leads what we are bringing to them, and that kind of stopped me. And we need to stop this whole thing, and we need to ask sales what they want. And we sent them questionnaire, and we asked how do you want to work with marketing? What has been good? What has been bad? But what are the leads you want to receive and things like that? And they said that we want to do all these customer plans with marketing. I want to tell that my customer is about to buy that stuff. And then we start to talk about the account-based marketing, like making all those plans together, and I think that has been really, really good thing to do.
Thank you. I can't say we'll be here all night, since that's not fully true, but
you can't
we will.
Promise that for me.
Yeah, I'll be here all night if needed. Business related only though, but maybe wishful thinking. I don't know, but. As predictive marketing has come up now, I think that's a perfect segue for us to go to the next presentation here. I want to thank you for a marvelous presentation, and I want to introduce our next speaker, who is basically managing data science, data operations at a company which has basically been a trailblazer and a pioneer in marketing technology in Finland for a very, very long time. So I very, very much enjoy introducing Mr. Robin Wikström from F-Secure, and big hand for this wizard here. He is the person that all headhunters are looking at right now, since this is the skill set that is in like 1000% demand increases every year for this exact competence. So he's been throwing all those headhunters, leaving them behind. So a very, very interesting topic that you're going to be having, and go ahead.
Thanks. Great. So my name is Robin Wikström, and I will introduce the company a bit in a while, but I'm responsible for driving the business intelligence on the B2B side. And my topic of today is how to develop a data-driven customer journey. And I'm planning to take a bit different approach to the previous speakers. I will take a bit high level and discuss maybe my biggest question at the moment, so what? Because we have reached a quite good stage, if I say it myself. We know the customer journey, we have the basic endpoints, but what to do now? So what's the next step? And a spoiler could be that one of the biggest problems is the culture. So if you have the data and you have the connections, what you do next? And how do you get your people to actually live and breathe data? Although, of course, not everyone can be like me and dream about data, but I mean, at least they could, during the work hours, they could dream about data. Shortly about F-Secure. We turned 30 years this year, actually. I think it's now in June. And we have been, since the start, protecting companies, customers, people in general. Currently, it's become more of a war, a cyber war. So we are now currently all soldiers fighting in the big cyber war. And the journey has been quite interesting. Before, we were protecting from viruses and home computers in the basements. But now we are protecting governments, organizations, companies more globally, because the threat is global. That's also why I'm here, because we are focusing more and more on the business side, which is the ones which are more in need of help. We have currently 1,000 employees, and we are quite global. I think it's 15 to 20 global offices around the world. And we are expanding quite rapidly. We were 800 people when I started 2 years ago. Now we are over 1,000. So start with the basics, the customer journey. So where did we start? This is high level, so it's not only marketing automation. So on the left side, you have the customer. You have different touch points, sending emails, creating leads, orders, phone calls, usage of the products. And a couple of years back, we basically didn't know that much. We knew that there was some money on the bank account, and it increased. One day there was more, and one day it was less, but we didn't really know from where it came. And we didn't really know the origin of it. And furthermore, we didn't really know, we saw that people were using our products, but we didn't really know who used it. And was there any specific things behind it? Did only people in Finland log in on Sundays, and did people in Germany log in on Mondays? We didn't know these things, because we couldn't connect the dots. And currently, this is where we are. So we managed to, both with help of technology and also with help of processes, we managed to connect the dots. So now we understand that the person here that created a lead 2 months ago now is using one of our products. And then we also understand that they are the ones that gave us the money. So that's really a breakthrough thing for us. And I will elaborate a bit more about this, the good things and the bad things, and what we are using this for later on. But this is where we are now. So we understand the basic connections. We understand that people are receiving our emails. We understand that they are interacting with us. We also understand that they are the ones that call support, complaining. We can connect the dots, of course, as much as legally is possible. And this is maybe the interesting point. Where are we going? And we are putting a lot of money into telepathy development. No, we are not. If no one of you. Hope you didn't believe in that. That would be nice, though, to have that. But we want to, of course, extend the customer side also. We want to know more of the customer. even before they're interacting with us. I think that's what everyone is looking for. We want to understand the customers and we want to understand how they're making decisions. A bit like Saana talked about this in the morning session. And then we want to connect everything into one beautiful circle of customer journey. We want to have the feedback. We want to know why they hate us, why they love us, and all of these things. We want to connect the circle. And also furthermore, we want to make this current path that we have, we want to make it more robust and make it more extended and make it more clear. So that's the two things that we are developing towards. So how did we achieve this? This is the timeline from the Eloqua point of view, our marketing automation tool. And as you can see here, which is maybe the first point of my presentation, it didn't go in 2 months. It actually started in 2011, although from my point of view, the real start was in 2015 when we established the digital marketing team and we actually started to push this. So that's probably the starting point, but still it's been taking 3 years. Now we are here, so it's not something that you do this evening. It actually will take a while. As you can see here, also the things that we are offering or are using has become more complex. In the beginning we had partner email communications, and then now we're looking at automated communications with using behavior and predictions, and combining, what else do we have here? Programmatic advertising based on CRM data. So it's quite a leap from sending emails to actually optimizing it. And this really simple picture, I really don't understand it myself either, not all of it. But if you ask something, I can pretend. This is our ecosystem with Eloqua in the middle, which is the serves. I know there are some of my colleagues from Eloqua team that are watching this and they don't get enough of cred at home, so maybe we can give them some cred here. They are maintaining this whole spider in the web thing. But the three main technologies here is that we have the website. Currently we're using Google Analytics. We have Eloqua, and then we have Salesforce. And Eloqua is the binding everything together. Having the integration to CRM tool, which is this one, happening there, the native integrations, and then feeding all the online presence things. Also, not only online, also telemarketing, other things are being fed into Eloqua and then forwarded to CRM tool. And then, although I will elaborate on this a bit later also in the reporting side, but we also have a data lake on top of this. So to make it even more complex, we are sending data to a data lake and then using that for reporting. I just want to mention that they didn't go unnoticed. So, what's the good things? I want to read two good things and 2 bad things with this setup. The first thing, which is a natural one, we can optimize the customer journey. So we understand, for instance, that, what's a good example? We can find the bottlenecks, for instance. We see that if someone is visiting our site all the time and are speaking with our telemarketing, are speaking with a customer, they might be interested in buying our products, for instance. So this is the key thing, making the flow as easy as possible for them to buy our products and then also to get support. This is the natural one. I will come back to this when I raise the negative things. Then predictions, which has been a somewhat discussed topic already today. Although you shouldn't believe in predictions, because they're not, it's difficult to predict the next hour already, as was mentioned. There's still use in predicting things. So for instance, we know that if we get 1,000 leads this month, and we got 500 last month, then the potential to getting more sales is higher. So we can correlate these things. If more people are visiting our sites, then it's a higher potential that we will get more income or more sales. And then we can see that if you compare, for instance, Finland and Germany, if you see that there's more activities in certain touch points happening in Germany, we are quite certain that this will lead to more positive things in the end of the funnel. So that, I think on that level, predictions are good. Of course, promising that, once I claimed in January that I could predict the whole year turnover, but that I was quite close, but then I cheated a bit. So I mean, those really don't make sense, just for potentially for getting some feelings, but not, you shouldn't base your decisions on that. But what we are more looking into it, and what we are trying to develop, but we are not really there, is this prescriptive, which is the next level of predictive. So maybe giving us advice that maybe you could try this, or maybe you shouldn't do this. Not on the level of don't do this and don't do that, but maybe you should try this and this. To encourage also this experimental culture, which a lot of companies might be lacking. That you actually dare to try things. You dare to change the color of your email, even though it's been the same for 15 years. But you live on the edge for a while. And maybe, if you're really bold, you can send it to more than 100 people. You can send it to 200 people. I think we have 300,000 in our database, so it's not going to... We have a lot of unnecessary things, but I mean, it's not going to kill us if we are sending it to 200 people. And they are not like the color. But then what we also... Now when we have managed to connect all the main points, and hopefully we are measuring the things that matter, then we can also predict things like if we are selling a lot of products in one country, it's going to lead to a lot of support things in the near future, maybe in 3 months. So we could also remove these potential bottlenecks that we don't sell a lot and become happy, and then it turns out that in 6 months we are red in the customer support side because they are overloaded. So this sharing the understanding and understanding that the left foot or left hand understands what the right hand does. That's, I think, central for these predictions as well, because the predictions go cross-function. Yes, the negative side. This is the fun part. So what's my biggest concern at the moment? I don't know in what stage you are in your organization, but the biggest problem related to this, so what? I will come back to this in the final slide, but I mean, what we are lacking is it's not so black and white, but we are lacking this because not everyone can be like the analysts. We really like the data. I mean, I think it's fun to spin the Excels or the business intelligence tool, but I also understand that few people are like me, and a lot of people hate going to a business intelligence tool and hate when their managers are forcing them to look at the data. I understand that, but what we are trying to achieve is this golden middle way, that you would at least understand if you do something, how it's going to affect the rest of the company. I think that's what we are trying to raise, that not that you become a data geek, but that you become somewhat interested. That you understand, if you're a marketeer in France, that you understand that if you're doing this, it's going to affect the whole company in this way. And I think that's what a lot of companies are lacking, this cross-functional company-wide understanding. And with the help of, I will quickly browse that through our data setup, with the help of that reporting tools, it becomes possible for anyone, even though you're a global company, that you all have the same data. So there is this enough transparency. Of course, you can't give everyone all the data, but enough so that you understand that how your work is affecting the turnout of the company. But I have this one slide I will get back to. Then I'm really proud of this slide. I think it was clever. you can steal it with pride if you want. Feel free. Which relates back to the picture of the digital ecosystem. It's really complex, and I'm the first one to admit that I don't understand it. I think there's one person or two persons in the whole company that understands how it actually works. It is complex, and then we are a 30-year-old IT company, and it means that we have a legacy. I don't think we have the DOS systems. It might be, but it's quite close. And especially on the product side, there's a lot of things that have been there before most of us were born, almost, at least me. So, and you can't really shut them down because the cost is quite significant. So it becomes really complex. It's not always like in the movies or like in the YouTube ads that you do it in one evening and everything is, you plug in the cable and everything is fine and dandy. So that's the second big problem that we are facing. Then quickly about this, because it's really not so interesting, it's how is this data delivered to the people or to the users. So we have 2 points. We have the Salesforce, which Eloqua is feeding into, and also Google and all of our other tools are feeding. So the idea is that all the day-to-day, minute-to-minute things should be in Salesforce. So all your daily things that you need to succeed in what you're doing, regarding if it's sales or marketing or whatnot, you go to Salesforce. Because there we have all the key core data, the key things that you need to measure. But of course, then on the side, we have a lot of, as you saw in the previous presentations, tons of different tools. And of course, these have their own purpose, and for some of our experts, they need to go there and do deep dives. But the general things, regardless of where you're sitting or what you're doing, you go to Salesforce to get that insight. And then we have Tableau, which is feeding from the data lake. And there we have more granular data, more details, but it should be also seen as a more strategic thing, that you go there maybe once a week, once a month, and you understand. Again, if you're doing marketing, you're busy with your stuff, then you go here once a week and say, hey, how is the business going? Are we in the right direction? And then that's the setup we have. But this is not so hot either compared to the other things. So to sum it up, this second point of today, which we're trying to drive, hopefully this would solve the culture thing. But we believe that it's not a good thing if you create an analytics team and you put them in a corner. They're all really, really clever, which we are. I said all the headhunters are calling us all the time. So it's not so good to put them into a room, even worse in the basement, and then they produce a lot of insight. But so what? I mean, what's the benefit of that? It's really difficult to sell something that said that, hey, we spent 1 month in the basement and now we have this super good plan. It's really difficult to sell, even though we are really good at selling, but it's difficult. So the real experts, the paid media responsible person, the ones handling search engine optimization, they are the ones that should derive the insights. The analyst should just give them the tools and maybe support them and point them in the right direction, but the insight should be created by the experts. Then the final slides, then I will give it over to you. Sum it up. Naturally, everyone should develop a customer journey. I'm not, even though I was somewhat negative, everyone should do this. It's worth the money times 10, but it will take time, so it needs patience, and you need to concentrate on what actually matters. And then, even though you have that, because even though you had unlimited money, you could just buy the whole deck and all the add-ons and plugins, but making the culture adapt after that, that's the one that will take the time. And then the final point, because this is now everywhere, data solution, the fuel. I think it's essential, but it's not so that the data is the one that people will kill over. I think it's the data is the fuel that would fuel the culture, that would then move you to greatness. Great stuff. These are a nice logo, black and white. But life is not black and white, though.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I would want to ask a few clarifying or detailed questions on what you just presented there. I saw a few key components there, Tableau and the data lake, but could you expand a little bit more, like in depth, which technologies and processes you are using in your predictive and prescriptive analytics, and how does that in practice look?
That's a good question. Of course, the one main thing that we want to always keep to is that we don't add extra tools, especially not for the users. But we are using, for instance, R, which is my favorite tool, and we have that integrated to Tableau. So we can create really advanced things and connect it to Tableau. But we're not going to give the access to the users, because that would kill the culture even more if they don't even know how to open the program. So we want to limit that. The user interface, it should be as limited as possible. Then what happens in the back end, then can be as complex as possible. But we have this big data lake, and the long-term plan is to combine all our tools into that. And then we have that, the main tool being Tableau, which feeds directly from that. So for instance, CRM system, Eloqua, they send data to the data lake, and then we retrieve it from there. That's the. Then of course, I don't know if that fully answers to your question.
Yeah, quite close. When it comes to acquiring or setting up a data lake or a data warehouse, when does an organization know that, okay, we're now at a situation where we would greatly benefit from a data lake or a data warehouse? Or is there any tipping point or any key identifiers that now we're arriving the maturity, organizational maturity, or a place where the next logical step is to get a data lake or a data warehouse?
That's a good question. Maybe my personal opinion is that most of the companies need the data warehouse, just because of one basic reason: backup. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Eloqua has a 2-year. And I think that's a long period already. A lot of the tools that are used have this 1 year, 2 year, and then they start deleting the data. So by having a data lake or a data warehouse, at least if you understand what is the key things, and if you can predict what will be the key thing in 10 years, then it's really a good thing to have. You have the backup and you have everything in one place. And then you can connect the somewhat easy to use tool, Tableau, for instance, to that. Then of course on the other side, if you create a data warehouse just for the sake of creating it and you start storing stuff there, then maybe you'd be better with paper and pen. Because that's then, I've been in those situations quite a lot of times when you create all the data, you collect all the data, store all the data, then you think that you will use it. And then because there's a cost in storing data, which people tend to forget. The bills continue growing. And then it's really difficult to see if you have 1,000 terabytes somewhere in London in a server, cloud server even, and they start to increase the bills quickly, then what do you delete? So 2 coins, I think, 2 sides of the coin.
What would you say are the differences what is a data lake and what is a data warehouse? Where can you draw the line, or can you? Is it the use?
Probably someone can, but I'm not sure if I can.
So it's potato?
I think so. But probably someone is now turning there somewhere, maybe online even, that what is he claiming. But maybe the data lake, I would say that a warehouse is a warehouse where you can store stuff, but the lake is maybe more dynamic towards the BI side. I visualize, in my head it's like a lake and everything is feeding into that. Whereas the warehouse is the place you store somewhere and no one goes there. I think so.
Yeah. So as data science is the hottest thing since sliced bread at the moment, so when companies are looking to recruit data analysts, data scientists, what key terms or key competences or features would you recommend companies to look for in candidates or recruitment?
That's difficult. I think we actually discussed this a while back, or also in F-Secure. I mean, I see it in this way. You have the data scientists, in my mind, are those which are really good at coding and understands the data. They understand tables, they understand databases, they understand how you manipulate data, how you turn them around and how you combine them and join them and whatnot. That's the data scientists, and they are the ones, in my mind, maintaining the back end, the warehouse, the data lakes, and they're the ones which are really talented, because that requires to be talented. And then you have the other side, where I'm maybe more at the business analysts, which are the ones that understand the business, or should understand the business, and also understand some mathematics and some back end, how to use the tools. And then you have the third part, which are the users, and they can be experts. They don't need to understand where the data comes from as long as they trust it. But I would say that the data scientists are the ones that are really good at mathematics and coding, and then you have the analysts which are good at business. They understand that this number here means that it will affect this here in the other end. That's my view.
And does your team include the round table, and then all sockets have been filled with experts, or how does that look in a situation where from my perspective, it's like a grand situation and the holy grail has been reached. So is it truly so, or what are the challenges in that sense of team building?
We made it quite easy. Our team, the business intelligence team, we are the analysts. So we are experts in marketing analytics, sales analytics. We understand how they all are cross-connected. But then we have the IT side, which we call it, which are the ones that are developing the tools and all of the tables and the databases. And then we are the connection between the rest of the company and the IT. So we don't need to be concerned about if we need to have this data set or this connection, we need to see this from this point of view. Then we are not the ones doing it, but we should be able to explain it to the scientists. I think that's the biggest skill probably we need to have. Because anyone can read the table, but we need to also explain it to maybe the engineers. That's I would say.
All right. Audience questions. Let's pass the mic since interweb sent some denial of service attacks because the questions in the last round were not visible, audible there. So please.
So what is the process that you go through when you decide what goes into the data lake and especially what doesn't go into the data lake?
Well, if you look a couple of years back, we didn't have any process. So it was the Wild West. It's really good actually because then you could make things happen in one evening. But now we have a process, so we have governance boards and we have different owners of all things, and you have to. Then you have supports. We have support ticket systems, and you prioritize. We have weekly prioritization meetings where we discuss what is important now and what needs to be pushed forward. But we have really clear now owners of all the processes, which of course makes it more slow, but I think it's a good compromise.
There at the back.
So this is just a follow-up question on the first one. Do you have a single person who's responsible for data and data quality, like a data steward or a chief data officer, or is it more a group of people that from different divisions that actually own, data and data quality?
We have actually one person on the IT side which is responsible for the data, the quality. It's in his responsibility. But then on the other side, it's also partly the business intelligence team's responsibility, because we also see it might be difficult if you're on one side of the path to see what data is not relevant or what is bad data. So we are also partly responsible, but no, we have one single person.
And my other question is, you said earlier, it doesn't matter if your systems are connected or well connected if you don't have a data-driven culture. And I hear that from a lot of customers that I work with, that they say sometimes, the marketers that design a campaign, quite often they're so busy that they don't really have time to sit down and analyze the data or spend more time on that. What would your advice be to how to drive the adoption of a more data-driven culture and to show them really the value that your team can bring and data?
That's also a really good question. If I would know the answer to that, then I would be happy. I think, again, it goes down to this understanding. I mean, this might be a simple example, but if we spend a lot of time creating a website and we launch it and then we celebrate and then that's the end of that, then we'll never learn and we don't have any understanding was this a good idea. But then if you look at the data, we can see that only 50 people came and none of them converted to a lead. So they really didn't give any. It might have been a really nice page, but they didn't give anything to the company per se. So of course it might be in the long run, even though it's difficult to understand why it's important at the moment, in the long run it's going to be then visible, of course. So I think this basic understanding of how everything is connected, that everyone in the whole company is following this one truth, one number. It doesn't have to be the right number, by the way. I think it's better if everyone is following the wrong number, at least it's good that they're following the same number. So then I think that you cannot steal, because I will be famous on that. Because then you see the trends, so if you go up or down. So that's central, I think. And that goes back to that. If everyone understands that, hey, if I'm now creating the world's best button in this product, then it's going to increase this number and this number, then in the end it's going to be visible on the CEO dashboard. I think that is the essence that we need to develop. But it's not going to be easy, but I think that's the problem.
One more quarter?
Yes. Before 2020. Before midsummer, some year. Yeah.
Audience is quiet. So before we wrap up, I would want to ask one question that one of my favorite podcasters, forgot the word of podcaster. 10x Finland always asks as the last closing questions from their visitors that which application or technology or service you yourselves in business or personal life have found to be using more and more of in lately, and why? Robin first, and then
okay,
you have more time to think about this.
No, I have to admit, and even though I'm in this field, I'm really not so good at these applications. But there's one, and I'm thinking, there's one thing. I mostly use email. That's what I use. And then internet. That's a hot thing nowadays. So apparently, so that's what I use. But then, which I'm ashamed to say, I started using this password management system, and now I have it in my phone and my laptop. That I did that half a year ago, and now I don't understand how I could live my whole life without that. I think I have like 150 passwords already in half a year. So that's the one tool I use every day.
What's the name? What's the name of that tool?
We have one in our company, actually. I don't know if we can do marketing, but it turned out that it's free for me to use because it's our own product. So that's why I figured I should use it. It's called Key, F-Secure Key, for password management. Key.
This was actually not a paid ad or anything.
No. The link is on the next page.
Yeah. Vouchers.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that microphone work? I'm not sure. Maybe it does.
Does it work?
Same question?
Yes, it does. Same question. You're asking about the application.
Yeah, or which application service, or which technology have you been...
Oh, technology.
Yeah.
That's easier. Like for marketing purposes, not for me.
Well,
Yeah.
business or off business or
business.
anything?
Business is. We are actually at the moment really willing to get to know what that enriched DMP can give us to we can do like a targeted messaging to our selected customers, to digital magazines, or we can do targeted messaging in a Google and or between the lead and opportunity and stuff like that. We have got it already, but we are not using it overall, so that's really interesting stuff.
All right. Though nobody asks me, but I'll answer the same question as regardless. I personally have been starting to use Audible, which is an audiobook listening program that allows me to become more smart or entertained when I walk to work or am sitting in a car or trying to put my baby to sleep. So basically utilizing my time through audio, and it has the function of being able to speed up things and be if the reader or something is very slow. So makes life even more connected. So I'm not sure if that's a good thing. But basically, I want to thank you both. Very, very inspiring and detailed talks. So a round of applause. And the only actual ad that is paid in the form of my salary is that it's a mention that this was not a unique session, this was not a unique situation. We are having our next Power Lunch in week 41, which is in October, and the theme there will be very, very deep dive into predictive data-driven marketing. So stay tuned in your inbox, in your all the channels. We'll be lurking around there and throwing up tags for you to register when those comes up. So please do attend. We'll have new topics, new speakers, and hope to inspire you again. So thank you again from my behalf, and thank you interwebs, IDBBN and the crew signing out.